Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I would like to begin with an Indigenous territorial acknowledgement followed by some comments. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather, land on which we are broadcasting from today, is the land traditionally cared for by the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Shonneton people. We also acknowledge the enduring presence and deep traditional knowledge and philosophies of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land today. As we consider the recentering of Indigenous people being visible throughout the world, I would like to highlight the historic presence of 3 wampum belts created by Martin Powless, member of the Oneida Nation of the Thames, which were presented to the city on June 3rd. For those of you who weren't present on June 3rd, the wampum are tubular purple and white beads traditionally made from shells. The belts made of wampum were used to mark agreements between peoples. Wampum belts are of particular significance with regards to treaties and covenants made between Indigenous peoples and European colonial powers. We are now honored to have 3 belts present in our atrium. I invite you all to learn and understand the truth about Canada's colonial history in relation to Indigenous communities in Canada and the history of 6 nations here in Waterloo region. The addition of the wampum belts provides that opportunity. You can learn about the dish with 1 spoon wampum, which represents the 1701 treaty between the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe peoples, and Anishinaabe to peaceably share hunting territory and protect the land. The 2-row wampum, which describes the 1613 treaty between the Mohawks and the Dutch to move forward side by side while respecting each other's rights and way of life. And the Hiawatha wampum, considered the original record of the founding of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy under a pledge of peace and understanding between the 5 nations 100 years ago, which might be 1,000. So I invite you all, and I'm very pleased to see them here. I think it's a wonderful addition to the city, and it's a continuation of our move forward as we work together on this journey of reconciliation. And I would like to have our pause for a moment of reflection. At the beginning of this council meeting, we paused to think about the needs of our community. May we show wisdom and compassion in all our decisions. Okay, I would like to ask for approval of minutes. The previous meeting minutes to be approved are September 9th. Moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Hanmer. All in favor? That is carried. And I would like to move to presentations and delegations, and I'd like to invite Reap Green Solutions to come forward, Patrick Gilbride, the Executive Director, Lisa Truong, Director, Climate Mitigation Programs.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Chair, councillors, mayor, and staff. We're very pleased to be here to present to you our most recent impact report and some of the stories of that impact throughout the community. First off, we want to acknowledge our co-founder, University of Waterloo's Paul Parker, who retired last year from our board. He's our co-founder. And of course, Mary Jane Patterson, who served as our executive director for 22 years. As you can see on the right, they've left a real strong foundation, a team of staff and volunteers, really passionate to help the community to work on their sustainability journeys. Back in 2020, we set a target to empower 10,000 meaningful actions and to help people in our community to take those actions. So this is the 3rd year that we've measured that, and as you can see, there's a real hunger for climate change solutions. Fully 2,000 of those actions have been over the last year, which really mark a significant acceleration of interest in everything from installing heat pumps to flood-proofing entire neighborhoods. With the wind down of the Greener Homes program from the federal government, we're in danger of losing that important momentum. We have lots more of those types of numbers in our full impact report, which you should all have a copy of in your inboxes. Right, so for our purposes today, we'll really focus on a few of the stories of that impact. So I'll turn things over to my colleague, Lisa Trong, Director of our Climate Mitigation Programs, to tell you some of those.
Thanks, Patrick. So Corinne needed to replace her exterior doors and some windows of her home. After an energy evaluation, REAP's energy advisor highlighted several other opportunities to further improve her 70-year-old home energy efficiency. She invested in a heat pump, added insulation in key areas, and draft-proofed it in other parts of her home. As a result, she had a 32% reduction in energy costs and was able to maximize the benefit of her investments. Last year, we visited 662 homes like Corinne's. Of those homes, 185 were in Waterloo, and with 47 heat pumps being installed. The Greener Home Grant started to wind down towards the end of the year, and there has not been a new program announced yet. In the meantime, many homeowners have taken advantage of the CMHC interest-free loan, up to $40,000. At our English conversation circles, we met with newcomers to talk about the importance of simple ways of reducing their energy consumption. We're also pleased to partner with the Region of Waterloo with an upcoming webinar happening tomorrow to educate newcomers and immigrants about our drinking water supplies. Our wells where we draw our drinking water are increasingly under threat from the salt that's being used during the wintertime. So through programs run by the region, with our help, we educate residentials and businesses about ways to reduce their salt use in winter maintenance. In the past year, property owners, with our help, have installed 724 healthy yards features from rain gardens to permeable paving and native tree plantings. Reducing runoffs enters our local waterways and expanding our urban tree plant canopy. One of our participants states that increasing number of rain gardens in the city is helping people feel like they're making a positive change to the climate crisis. Their gardens are also creating green spaces that make our streets look nicer and feel cooler. Building upon this work, we're using data to understand and map where climate vulnerability is highest in our community. Our new community canopy program, for example, enables us to be much more intentional about where we serve who we live in the neighborhood with the lowest tree canopy and who faces some of the highest barriers to planting trees in their yard. In partnership with the city of Kitchener to expand urban tree canopy in both public and private land to address tree inequality. This is the first year that we started our tree nursery operation. It has been a true barn-raising effort to get to this point. Volunteers like Marie has helped collected local seeds and helped plant them in the spring. By using local collected seed exclusively, we've been able to assure that the trees that we grow are able to naturally adapt to our climate. By empowering volunteers to grow and plant trees, we future-proofing against climate change.
Thanks, Lisa. So we not only focus on planting new trees, we also think about the legacy trees in our community, because thinking ahead to future generations is really baked into our vision. Our Tree Trust program uses donations from the community to care for our legacy trees. By working with an arborist to provide proper care for heritage trees, we extend the life of these trees so that we can continue to benefit from their shade and their many other gifts. In 2023, we hosted a Tree of the Year campaign. The photo you see was taken earlier in the spring at a large oak tree outside the Waterloo Public Library that was really a grassroots effort where people in the neighborhood decided to have that celebration, and we assisted them. So we co-lead climate action with Sustainable Waterloo Region in partnership with all of our area municipalities, including the City of Waterloo. This year we released our 2022 inventory report, which really demonstrated the urgency to reduce our emissions from travel and the buildings where we live and work. I'll just put in a quick plug. So next week is probably our biggest event of the year with the Climate Action team. It's our low carbon exhibition, which will be up at the R&T Park. So we invite everybody to participate in that. So there'll be EVs that people can try out, as well as a variety of different battery-powered devices that people can really use to really understand how they can move to electrifying their lives without the use of fossil fuels. And while not everybody can do a deep retrofit on their home or ride a bike to work, there's still a way people can make a meaningful contribution. Our Zero Waste Challenge is a fun way that everyone who produces waste, in other words, all of us, including our pets, can participate. So this year, I've decided to do, for the first time, do the 30-day challenge. It's over the month of October. And as you can see, I got my work cut out for me. I'm also provided with a daily reminder of how much carbohydrates are in my diet. So the 14-day challenge starts next week, and then there's a 7-day at the end of the month as well. But it's really not, it's a judgment-free zone. It's really about understanding what the waste we produce, and not only the waste that we produce, but the amount of waste that's endemic within our society and our culture, and really understand where that comes from and what we can do to potentially move the needle on that. In terms of our financials, we saw significant growth last year in our fee-for-service revenue. That's because as people scheduled home energy evaluations while the Greener Homes program was winding down, there was a lot of people who wanted to get into that program before it ran out of funds. So we're anticipating that revenue bump that we got last year will kind of see us through this year where those incentives are no longer available.
I don't wish to interrupt, but I just wanted to remind you, you're just under a minute.
Okay, perfect. So over the next year, we'll invest in some targeted program development to really sort of create some reliability within the community so people can invest in improving their homes without the need for these government incentive programs. Finally, we'd like to say thank you. We couldn't do it without you. Certainly, all of these core funders, City of Waterloo's involved with Innova. We'd love to see a City of Waterloo logo on there as well. But really, all of these core funders and all of our partners are what allow us to support the community. So we want to say thank you, and certainly to Mayor McCabe, who sits on Regional Council, who is one of our core funders. We also wanted to take the opportunity just finally to say thank you to the municipal staff that we get to work with from the city, in particular Sean McClay, Derek Brick, Paula Mendez, as well as Sandy Little and Aristic, who are here tonight, and the newest member of their team, Sydney Sandalek, who is on our climate action team up until recently. We're excited to continue to be able to work with her. So thank you, and we're happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much for your excellent presentation. Does council have any questions? Councilor Wright?
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Thank you very much for this presentation. It's always great to see the work that's happening through REAP. Do you have any particular vision for what you think could be happening in Waterloo? Like, I realize that we're not one of your core funders, and lots of these programs are being implemented in Kitchener and surrounding communities. What do you see as sort of a key opportunity in Waterloo?
Well, we're certainly excited to see that the city's working on an urban forest master plan and where that could go. We're definitely telling the people within our community to feed into that public consultation process, because we see that there's a need. I know Waterloo's doing relative to some of the other municipalities doing well in terms of tree canopy, but there's a real opportunity there. Similarly, in terms of climate adaptation, there's opportunities around improving flood resiliency. We can all kind of do better at that. So those are a few of the things that we're working on. Anything to add, Lisa? Or?
Yeah, I guess with the City of Waterloo to continue in the work around implementing the retrofit WR, which is the local financing energy retrofit program. The region has submitted the capital funding application. So that is an on-bill repayment plan. So it's with Evono and Graham Bridge. So if anyone that homeowners are interested in taking out a low interest loan through the utilities, that's in partnership with the region and the city and the township. So, yeah, I guess helping promote it in the city.
Thank you. Any further questions, council? Yes, Mayor McCabe.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Thanks for coming in, Patrick and Lisa. And this is my second time seeing the presentation, so really appreciate the work that you do in the community and that Paul Parker has done, and that certainly Mary Jane, your predecessor, Patrick, has done for so many years. And it really has made a difference. And I was one of the ones who got to benefit through the federal grant program and switched from natural gas or gas to a heat pump, and I absolutely encourage people to switch over. It's not only a heat pump; it's an air conditioning for your home too, and it's nice and quiet. So you can sit outside in your patio and not hear a hum of the loud hum that air conditioning units do. So strongly encourage that. But I just wondered if you could give us a little bit more information about I think you called it the low carbon electrification event that's happening at the Research and Technology Park. Could you just give us a little bit more information about what's happening with that?
Sure. Yeah, that's on, I believe it's Wednesday. It's October 16th. So I think I have the day of the week right. That'll be open to the public between 4 to 7 p.m. There's actually some activities taking place for the business community before that as well. But again, there'll be all kinds of different vendors from renewable solars so if you want to look at, different aspects about electrifying your home. So we have all kinds of different vendors available with their electric powered devices, which, up until recently were run on gas essentially. So, that's going to be open to the public. It's at the Evolve 1 building, which is kind of at the north end of the park. Yeah.
Oh, are you talking about like leaf blowers and
Yep.
lawn mowers and I don't know, anything like that, as well as vehicles and?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great to know. Certainly help promote that. Thank you very much again for the work you do. I really do appreciate it, and the difference that it's making across our city and across the community. But of course, we know that there's a great deal more that needs to be done. So look forward to continuing to work with you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any further questions, council? Seeing none, thank you so much for your presentation and for your continuing guidance for all of us as we move forward to a more sustainable and eco-friendly environment in this time of a climate crisis. Thank you. Okay, our next item is a consent motion, and before I ask for a mover, is there anyone that has anything they would like to pull? No? Do I have a mover for the consent motion? Councillor Bodley, seconded by Councillor Freeman. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay. And the next item is staff reports. So our first staff report, the Housing Enabling Fund, Water Systems Intake 2 and Core Servicing Stream. I understand there's no presentation, but I'm wondering, you'd like to move the motion? Are there any questions? Or, sorry, I'm just thinking of order here. Move first and then questions? or whatever. Sure, Diane can move it first, and then we can have any questions. Seconded by Councillor Bodley. And any questions from staff? I'm sorry, from council. Yes, staff, was there any questions? Any questions for staff from council? Okay, I actually do have a question for Brad. Hold on, I just have to pull it up. I'm just wondering, basically, about funding, should the application not be successful, Brad? So what we would be looking at if we don't have this support from the government?
To you, Councillor Rowe. So the report before you is seeking council approval to submit the applications. And obviously staff are extremely hopeful that these will be successful, as they will help us enable these housing units. If our intake 2 application under the Housing Enabling Water System Fund and the Core Servicing Fund were not successful, we would need to return back to council and have a conversation about advancing the projects entirely funded by the city. And this particular project, so reference 590, is heavily financed by development charges, debt financing. So it's a non-routine project, so in accordance with policy, we would need to come back to council and have a conversation about advancing that project at this time. That's the financial piece of the puzzle, which is a very big conversation. To finance this entirely by development charges debt would be a big undertaking. There's other technical pieces to the project that Ron and the team could speak to that they're working through with the developers. But what we've been communicating is without these grants, we would likely need to be engaging with the developers in some type of a cost sharing or funding framework for them to assist us in advancing the project without the grant. So we're really hopeful the grant comes to fruition, but if not, we would need to return back and have a more detailed conversation with council before we proceeded.
Thank you. Okay, do I have a mover for this item? I'm sorry, yes, sorry, okay. I would like everyone to vote on this one. All in favor? Okay, all right, it passes unanimously, that's great. As you can see, I'm going downhill as we go on. Oh dear, okay, the second item, the Green and Inclusive Community Buildings Grant, third intake. Do council have any questions? Nope, moved by Councillor Vasek, seconded by Councillor Freeman. I would like to table a similar question to Scott in terms of funding, and if we are not successful with this grant.
Thank you to you, Councillor Rowe. If so, this grant program provides 80% funding from the federal government. If we are not successful with this, we still have the $10 million in the Ref 225 capital project, which is, but then we would look to leverage that funding through our capital program to implement these types of projects.
Thank you so much. That answers my question. And I think I just wanted to highlight those two grants. And as Mayor McCabe has indicated in the past, just sort of the need for municipal fiscal review because of the need to rely on grants to move forward with projects. Thank you. So I have a mover and a seconder. All in favor? That passes unanimously. And that takes us to consideration of notice of motion given at a previous meeting, none. Notice of motion, none. Communications and correspondence, none. Unfinished business, none. Questions? Councillor Hanmer?
Question for staff. On one of our favorite topics, and that, oops, it would help if I got my microphone close to me, sorry about that. One of our favorite topics, fireworks. And I know we've all seen information in the papers recently about our communities around us, taking a look at it again. And over the last number of years, and Councillor Freeman knows better than all of us, council and staff have continued to undertake a number of initiatives to address this issue and the concerns that we get regarding the fireworks displays. Some of the initiatives have included reducing the times and days and locations that fireworks can be used. And we've also, I think, led by example in looking at how our regular fireworks displays have moved from being fireworks to looking at light shows using drones. Our initiatives have always focused on improving or protecting the health and safety of our residents while respecting people's rights to reasonably quiet enjoyment of their properties, as well as the impact on the environment. Yet again, though, we are seeing increasing complaints and concerns about fireworks. So understanding that our neighboring communities have been having conversations regarding fireworks, and that the City of Kitchener at its most recent meeting directed staff to look into specific matters related to fireworks with a report back in April of 2025. I'm wondering if, and it's probably directed, Mark, to our Commissioner Dykstra, can you share with us what specifically the City of Waterloo has been considering or might be considering going forward? And I'm also curious about a coordinated approach to communication strategies regarding fireworks.
Thank you, through the chair, to Councillor Hamner and all of council. Yes, in the forefront amongst the divisions and community services from our community outreach, how they're handled in public parks and how we support that through events in those facilities, to how it relates to our fire services and our municipal enforcement team. So cross-section divisional within community services, and a point of conversation amongst the team. How do we support? How do we respond to the complaints? And what can we do? So the team has started some research as well in terms of what cities, municipalities are doing across the country to look at more stringent and considerations around regulation. And that aligns with what Kitchener is considering and has been directed with as well. And we are happy to join in on those conversations, if so directed by council, to consider that within the same time frame. So you've noted a number of the items that we've looked back at 2021 to improve around the times, the days, and also how the city supports light shows and drone shows versus fireworks. All speaks to what we're trying to achieve and improve on. So for us, if council wants us to continue that investigation and seeing how we align regionally, happy to take that tonight with council's consideration with the clerk, and can do that partnership piece with them just to investigate and then report back as well in April of 2025.
Okay, thank you for that update. I knew that lots of great things are going, and I'm glad to see that it's working in a collaborative way. And I guess maybe to my council colleagues, with the support of council, are we in a position that we would be willing to direct staff at this stage to continue collaboratively working with the City of Kitchener, looking at, and other municipalities? It's not, I think it really does need to be a regional approach to anything that we're going to be doing, and work within the framework that Commissioner Dykstra has described for us, and then report back in April with some recommendations and suggestions of where we might go. And I would suggest the second part of my question you didn't answer, but I'm presuming that part of that report back would also include what a communication strategy, collaborative communication strategy would be around fireworks.
Yeah, I can, through the chair to the council, definitely comment on that. That has been part of the work that we've done in working with our communications team. How do we share that message about the concerns for the community, the well-being for the community, some of the risk with fireworks too, safety around them as well. So, and using the different social media streams in our outreach through neighborhoods as well. That is continuing for upcoming firework season, and we are looking into that and actively planning. And yes, outcomes from the work that's going to come through this regional collaboration will definitely have a communication plan.
Thank you. And thank you to the clerk. She's actually put up on the screen the direction. So I guess it's not a motion, but it's
I
a
was just
direction
going
to
to-
staff, so we
yes.
just need support. Julie?
I was just going to ask for that clarification.
Yes, through the chair to Councillor Hanmer, if we could have a mover and a seconder for this direction.
Then I'm happy to move it. I will definitely move it. I think everybody
All right,
will
moved
all
by-
the way around.
Moved by Councillor Hanmer, seconded by Councillor Wright. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. Thank you.
And thank you to staff for the response.
Thank you so much. Mayor McCabe, you have a question.
Yes, thank you very much. A question, or start with a comment. I just wanted to share for people who are council around the table, but for anyone listening, that I'm personally really excited, but I think all of council is excited that at the end of September was the deadline for organizations, nonprofits who are interested in submitting a development application for city-owned property at 2025 University Avenue East. The deadline was last week, and we're excited to see that there were a number of applications that came in. And again, this is a project that is really a significant opportunity for the city of Waterloo, and it's one that has been enabled because of the federal government's housing accelerator funding, and there's much more work to do on this. But I just wondered if staff, if that would be Ron, because I don't see Michelle Lee here, if you could just give us an update on what the next steps are, because again, this is a really significant project and for us and for the community. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. And I guess I would sort of layer on to the greater initiatives that staff are working on with respect to the HAF grant. So there's the official plan work that's going to be happening, the phase 1 of the official plan review that will be before council later this year. That will include a number of different opportunities to look at things like employment land conversions, looking at how we can streamline our parking, looking at a community development permit process whereby we could also collapse site plan, minor variances, and zone changes into one sort of streamlined approval to try and ramp up construction of residential properties. And also looking at corridor work, looking at how we can advance the missing middle piece, looking at how we can enable 4 units per property. So there's a whole suite of things in addition to 2025 University Avenue that you mentioned, Mayor, which was done through an MZO process that is a successful way to try and move things ahead in a more efficient manner as well. In terms of the specifics of the next steps for 2025 University Avenue, obviously there's technical evaluations that have to take place now once the submissions are before staff. We've got to look at how compliant they are with respect to what the city's goals are for that piece of land. As council knows, it's in a strategic location. We're targeting at least 700 units, affordable units there. But we want to optimize the use of the property. We want to make sure that it's going to be serviced in accordance with the existing capacity, which we have good confidence that it will, that it meets the needs of the community with respect to transportation, open space, amenities, those types of things. So staff will take away the expressions of interest that have been received, and we'll look at them with respect to what was included in the request, and then report back to council on the short list, if you will.
Thanks very much, Mr. Ormson, and it's a good reminder of not only of the 2025 University Avenue East developments that's being enabled by the Housing Accelerator funds, but the numerous other opportunities that this fund is opening up for us. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for that information.
Thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to new business. Does anyone have any new business they would like to share? Councillor Bassett.
There were lots of things, obviously, that happened, but I just wanted to highlight 2, and Councillor Wright, you can jump in on the Black Talk event too, but I really wanted to thank Textile, which started as a magazine and now seems to be moving to more community events, lectures, talks, things like that. They hosted their first event, Black Talk. It was a conversation between the author Hanif Abdurakib and local author Antonio Michael Downing. And it was really a beautiful conversation. It was facilitated so well. And ultimately, at the crux of the conversation was how we keep or how we could keep a public record of Black culture and Black communities. And one thing I wanted to highlight from that event was the moderator, or I guess the MC of the event, really thanked City and Waterloo Public Library staff, not just for the funding, but for the process everyone worked together with. The kind of work that Textile does is it pushes the boundaries, and not every organization and institution is comfortable with that and often pushes back on that and resists, and that can shut people down and out. And so one of the things that the MC highlighted was how open, curious, these are my words, I can't remember their words, and responsive City and Waterloo Public Library staff was to the activism and advocacy and the way in which they do that. And I'm certain that Textile I'm not certain, but I would imagine Textile didn't get everything they wanted, but it was that kind of back and forth where everyone was willing to work together. And in a climate where we seem to not be able to work together well, or there's a lot of anger, an example of working well together, particularly around matters of things that our Ready team is working on, is a shining example that we should be really proud of as a city and continue to foster. So I want to highlight that. And the other thing I wanted to say was, I just wanted to say that our planning department, as we know, is very, very busy and strained. And this is such a little example, but it's a great example of like good customer service or like good working together. And everyone's so strained, but I got an email from Amino just like giving me a heads up a couple weeks ago that we're gonna have an informal public meeting about something in my ward. And I just thought it was such a nice, small, in a context where you're all so busy and things are stressful and planning, in the planning world in general, and then here in particular, I thought it was a really nice gesture to just give me a heads up so that I could look at it and review it and ask him questions ahead of time if necessary, and then in the hopes probably that also makes his life and the planning department's life a little bit easier so we're not scrambling at the end. So just wanted to say thank you to your department for working so well with council in that way.
Thank you, Jen. Yes, Mayor McCabe, did you have any? No? All right, anyone else? New business? Councillor Wright?
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Chair. I just wanted to acknowledge that Council did not sit last Monday, which was the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. And so many of our Indigenous-led organizations across the broader community engaged with settlers to continue the education and to encourage us to continue to commit to action towards reconciliation. And there were many very beautiful moments that unfolded last Monday. I managed to attend the sunrise ceremony at the University of Waterloo before really succumbing to some viral things. So it's just these opportunities for us to continue to gather and to commit to action are so important. And so I just wanted to highlight that. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Councillor Wright. Mayor McCabe, I don't wish to put you on the spot, but I believe you were going to talk about Waterloo Park and the giraffe parade.
I can, yes. Thank you, through you, Chair. Saturday afternoon, so Dr. Anna Innes Dagg is a Canadian zoologist and world-renowned expert in giraffes. She lived a great deal of her life in Waterloo and worked at the University of Waterloo, and she passed away at the age of 91 in April this year, and her family and her surrounding McGregor-Albert neighborhood, because of their great affection for her, held an amazing tribute and memorial for her on Saturday afternoon. Well, it was actually in 3 parts. They made giraffe necks and heads on one Saturday. They out of paper mache. The next Saturday they painted them, and then last Saturday they paraded with music and with great enthusiasm throughout the park. And it was again an event that city staff through community services helped. The community grant committee approved the funding for that. to enable them to buy some of the resources and that they needed to create this event. But the joy and the celebration was just so evident for people who were participating and then people who were in the park who came to watch and kind of very curiously scratch their head and say, why is this happening? What's going on? And so then her daughter, who also spoke, noted that her mother not only was a zoologist, but because of the sexism that she encountered as a female academic in the 50s, 60s, 70s, she also wrote a book. She did 60 journals about giraffes in her research and study, but she also wrote a book about feminism in academia. I mean, truly an accomplished woman. And just wanted everyone to know as well that she set up a conservation fund for the protection of giraffes in the wild and also the communities around where these giraffes live, and encourages people to make donations there and to increase their understanding. And the museum in downtown Kitchener currently has an exhibit called the Giraffe, a heightened experience that is all in honor of her and her research. So yeah, it was probably one of the best events. No offense to all the other events, but that was certainly a highlight. No pun intended. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor McCabe. I'm sorry I missed that. Yes. If there is no other new business, I'll just quickly.
Thank you for sticking my neck out,
Yeah.
as Councillor Roach just said.
I would just like to mention that Saturday was the Ride for Refuge. For those of you who may not be familiar, it is a ride in solidarity for those who are seeking hope, safety, and freedom when fleeing conflict, persecution in other parts of the world. And the United College at University of Waterloo partnered with Reception House, and they had a ride here. Compass Refugee Center had a ride at Dune Golf Club, and both were extremely successful. And it was really encouraging also to see that Reception House brought, I think it was 50 newcomers to the event. And so that was such a welcoming and supportive environment for them to see that here in Canada we have that support and solidarity. So I just wanted to mention it. It was really great, and I welcome them all to Waterloo Region. Okay. Sorry. Oh, Hans, I'm so sorry. Sure. Go ahead.
I've just came to me. So earlier this summer, we celebrated Steve Lawrence bringing the Stanley Cup to Waterloo resident. So I'd just like to congratulate Steve Lawrence, Waterloo resident, for signing today with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I did not see that. That's huge news. Congratulations to him and his family. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, thank you. If there's no other new business, then we will move forward to the enactment of bylaws. Do I have a mover? Councillor Freeman, seconded by Councillor Bodley. All in favor? That's passed unanimously. Now, if I could just turn to the clerk, as we have to return to in camera, how would you like me to proceed?
Thank you, Chair. I think it's just notation for the public that council will be resuming the closed meeting, but it's not necessary for a motion.
Thank you. So, can I adjourn then?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So do I have a motion for adjournment? Councillor Hanmer, seconded by Councillor Vasic. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you.